So verses 1 and 2, Arjun speaks about his confusion, whether should I work or I should be detached. 3.3 to 3.9, work with detachment is something that Krishna brings up again. And then 10 to 16, cycle of sacrifice. 17 to 35, setting the right example. And then lust, how it is the greatest enemy. So we'll begin with the first verse of the third chapter. If you have your Bhagavad Gita, you can open it, or you also have it on the presentation. We'll recite the verse. Arjuna Uvacha Jayasi Chet Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tat Kim Karmani Ghore Mam Niyojayasi Keshava. Somebody can unmute and quickly read the translation, please.
O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work.
So Arjun is asking this question after Krishna has spoken verses from 255 to 72, so many verses. Now Arjun has a doubt. He says, Jaisi Chet Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana. If, in your opinion, intelligence is better, then karma, O maintainer of all living beings, which is Janardana, Tat Kim Karmani Ghore Mam Niyojayasi Keshava. Why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare, O Keshava? So, two names of Krishna, epithets that Arjuna is using here, Janardhan and Keshava, two of them. And he says that if you think that buddhi is better, intelligence is better, then why do you want me to why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare? We'll understand why he's having this doubt. And there are two things. First is in last chapter, Arjun asked about this. So I'll put all these in notes so that you can go back and read, what the reason was exactly. Why is Arjun asking this question? I'm really sorry. I still have a little congestion. So my voice is clear, right? Everybody can understand? So
Yes,
last
Mataji.
chapter, thank you. Last chapter, Arjun asked about the symptoms of a self-realized person. If you remember 2.54, who remembers? A little recap here. 2.54, where Arjun asks 4 questions in one verse about the self-realized person.
What are his symptoms? How does he speak? How does he sit and how does he walk?
Perfect. Wonderful. And his background question was, will such a person fight or not fight? Krishna answers from 55 to 72nd verse. And in all these verses, Krishna doesn't use the word fight even once. Rather, he uses the opposite word, shanti, several times in 2.66, 70, and 71. And Krishna uses the word shanti in terms of deep spiritual inner peace, not in terms of political peace in the external world. But there is also no direct call to fight on the other hand. So that's why Arjuna is confused. He's thinking Krishna is talking about this person who wants peace. But then why is he wanting me to fight? Also, 2.49, this was the link to this chapter also, where Krishna said, Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddho sharanam anvicha kripana falahetava. If you remember this context, let's ask you, what did Krishna mean when he said avaram karma? What is avaram karma in that context where Krishna was talking about particular subject matter?
Is he talking about the Vedic activities? Because the previous verse, a couple of verses, there was Traigunya, Vishaya, Veda. So, is
Perfect.
he
Yes. And what is it called? Exactly? Karma?
Karma Kanda?
Karma Kanda, wonderful. Yes. So when Krishna said, Durena hi avaram karma, keep karma kand far distant. Because, and he says over here, those who want to enjoy the fruit of their work are misers. Karma kand is you do an activity and you expect the result from it. So Krishna was talking about how you should rise above the three modes of the Vedas, rise above the modes in the Vedas, and don't expect when you work, you should work with a higher motive, not to enjoy this sense object. So he also says, Buddho Sharanam Anvicha, with your intelligence, take shelter. Now, if Buddhi is above karma, then why is Krishna asking me to engage in fighting? Again, the same doubt he's having, but these two reasons, one is this and one is this. You can go over the notes again later. So here is Krishna's, the various options that Krishna had given. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Karma Kand, and Vikarma. He was talking about these aspects, but Arjun, he took out of these four, he made, his conception was either I fight, which will be Ghor Karma, or I will not fight and take to Buddhi, which is, or Jnana or Sankhya Yoga. I will renounce everything and I will not fight. So either I fight or not fight. These are the only two options. He's also calling Krishna Janardana, and Janardana means one who is the object of entreaty for those desiring their ultimate benefit, or Janardana, one who protects, or Ardhan. Ardhan is taking care or maintaining all beings. Keshava is one who is the source and controller of both Brahma and Shiva. Also one who has beautiful hair. So Arjun requested Krishna, whose instructions cannot be transgressed even by Brahma and Shiva, to clearly tell him what is most beneficial. So Arjun is saying, please tell me for sure what is most beneficial for me. I'm confused. Next verse. Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhi moha shiva me tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyoham apnuyam. Somebody can read the translation, please.
My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me.
So from the two that he states in the first verse, either Buddhi Yoga or I do my karma, which will be Ghor Karma, which will be the best for me to do, please tell me decisively. So Vyamishrena Vakyena, your words are thoroughly mixed. They're confusing. Buddhi Moha Yasiva me, because of which my intelligence or my buddhi has become bewildered. Moha is bewildered. Tadekam vadanishchaya. Please tell me one thing for certain. Ekam, yena shreyoham apnuyam, which will be Shreya. Again, he's bringing this word, which will be beneficial for me for in long term. So one more time, before previously, Arjun had used this word Shreya. Anybody remembers? Very important verse. Comes in the second.
Ekshamapi aloke.
Shreyo Bhoktam maybe.
Yeah, I'll give you another clue. When Arjun takes shelter of Krishna, he surrenders to Krishna.
Karpanya doshopahata swabhava.
Shamikam. Yeah. So wonderful. Here also, so we see this this concept or this emotion of Arjuna where he wants the best possible. That's why he has all these questions, right? He wants the best for himself, for everybody around him. What is best? We'll talk about how information is brought in our mind and it's stored in the brain, right? We'll take example of a cupboard. If you're really careful about where to put what in your cupboard, you're really organized. But some people are. I'm like in between, not too much and not extremes. It's not too clumsy. My cupboard is not too like this one. It's not like this. But if you imagine a person who is very organized, and this is how he keeps his cupboard. One place for shirts, one place for his trousers, and there are different drawers, and you see some purses here also. So it's very, very organized. Now, if somebody gifts this person a piece of clothing which is, he's confused how to fit it in this cupboard because there's no place for it. He doesn't have that, maybe. That's why maybe a scarf. He doesn't have scarves. Now, where do I keep this scarf? Because my cupboard is so organized, it's difficult. So the only way is make a little room in that cupboard and put the scarf there. So there's a change that is required in the cupboard. Or if there's no place or he doesn't know what to do with it, he'll put it aside and not keep it in the cupboard, and because he's confused, where will I put this? So similarly, in our brain also, it's like a mental cupboard. We have information from past which is stored in the mental cupboard, and when there is a new information that comes, if we cannot link it to something previous, some previous information that we have, we will either reject it or that information, or we'll be confused. We have to face that information. So here, similar thing is happening. Arjun is facing a new information that Krishna has given in the second chapter about this Prajna Pratishtita Purush, but how does it fit well with fighting this person? Will he fight or not fight? Because Krishna is glorifying such a person and the characteristics. On the other hand, he says, get up and fight. So what do I do with this information? And he's confused. So he is making space in his mental cupboard. He wants to change and shift things so he can bring in this information. That's why he's asking. So it takes a lot of humility and determination to do the right thing. That's why he's asking. So according to Arjuna, karma is to fight, action, and jnana is renunciation. I don't fight. And Krishna introduced a new option, which is renunciation in action. So you do your karma, but be detached from it. So this is what Krishna's idea is, and this is the new information that he's getting. We'll keep moving into the next verse. Any questions so far? Okay, so 3.3. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Lokesmin Vividhanishta Pura Prokta Maya Nagha Jnana Yogena Sankyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. We can read the translation, please.
The blessed Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work.
Look at the verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Krishna spoke, Lokesmin Dvividhanishta. In this world, there are two levels of faith. Pura Prokta Mayanagha. I have spoken to you previously, O Arjuna, O sinless one. So Krishna is calling Arjuna Anagha. Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam, Jnana Yoga, which is practiced by those who are knowers of Sankhya. And Karma Yogena Yoginam, who are practicing Karma Yoga, they are the yogis. So these are two levels of faith for people who want to realize the self. So it's totally different than what Arjuna is thinking. Arjuna is thinking about these two people. Either I fight or not fight, right? Either I renounce or do my karma. But when Krishna was talking about this concept, he was talking about self-realization. He wasn't talking about action or not action, doing action or not doing action. He was talking about self-realization. So these are two levels of faith to attain transcendence, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. So Bhagavad Gita is progressive. Krishna gives information, and we've spoken about this before. It moves in a helix-like fashion. It goes forward. Krishna gives information, And then he moves forward by giving, he repeats that information, but he also gives in more information. So Krishna speaks about these two kind of people, two who have different kinds of faith and who are wanting to transcend or who are wanting to tread the path of transcendence. Krishna also says anagha to Arjuna, and we'll talk about a little bit about what is sin and why is Krishna calling Arjuna anagha, that you're sinless. This is from the Nectar of Devotion, where Rupa Goswami talks about the root cause of sin. Why does a person do sinful activities? So it starts from avidya, which is ignorance. Person does not have knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. Even if he does have knowledge, he will basically, the knowledge is I'm the soul, I'm not the body. That is the main knowledge. When we speak about knowledge, a person is knowledgeable from the aspect of philosophy and Bhagavad Gita. Knowledge is I'm not this body, I am the soul. And the perfect knowledge is, or advanced knowledge is, I'm not this body, I'm a soul. That soul is a part of Krishna, and I'm a servant of Krishna. That is the perfect knowledge. So that ignorance causes a person to want to enjoy, because the person is in ignorance that I'm this body, and he wants to enjoy his sense objects. So that's why that kutam or sinful proclivity is there in his heart to do the wrong thing so that he can enjoy. And then because of that proclivity, there is a bij, which is seed of sinful desire. And then there is Palonmukham, next stage, which is sinful action. And we'll understand this with an example. So a person who wants to enjoy a lot of wealth, right? He doesn't have the knowledge, I'm the soul, I'm not the body. I don't need so much money to enjoy in this world. What is the highest is knowledge of the soul and doing my activities in this world with that knowledge that I'm a soul. Doing those kind of spiritual activities. This person is in ignorance, he wants a lot of wealth. So suddenly, without doing much effort, how can I attain a lot of wealth? He's thinking, I can rob a bank. If I rob a bank, then I'll get so much money without working so hard. So that is simple proclivity. That is the kutam. Now, the bijam is where the seed of sinful desire, meaning he's thinking or making plans. Okay, this is the bank that I will rob on this day at this time. So that is the bija that he's putting, or he's sowing the seed of sinful activity. He's making plans. And next stage is when on that day, he goes and he does the robbery. That is the Falonmukham. That is the sinful action. After doing the action, there could be aprarabdha or prarabdha. There could be, this is reaction. When a person does an activity, reaction comes. So aprarabdha is where the reaction has not come yet. So he's robbed the bank, but nobody could catch him. So his reaction has not come yet, meaning maybe his picture was taken through the CCTV camera, or somebody saw him while he was robbing the bank, his mask came off, or whatever. So the police has some clues where to find this person, and they're working on it, but he's not yet caught. That is aprarabdha, your reaction which has not yet fructified. And prarabdha is when he's caught. He was running away, but outside there was security who had called the police and he was caught. That was prarabdha. For us, practically, if we see some people are going through a lot of problems in life, it could be material problem, relationship problem, or it could be health crisis. That is prarabdha karma, the reaction that we're getting from the deeds that we've done in the past. Okay, any question on this? I know we went a little bit deeper in philosophy from Nectar of Devotion.
So Mataji, so the actions, the reactions, Is it like prarabdha that occurs immediately and aprabdha will be like in course of time? Okay.
Yeah. Or even in course of time when the person is not yet caught, right? He robbed the bank, went home, and for a week or two he's enjoying. So that period is aprarabdha. He's not getting the reaction. But when he's caught, it became prarabdha. He's put in jail, and so it's not that immediate is prarabdha and not immediate is aprarabdha is that time period where he's not getting the reaction yet. But and it can become prarabdha when he gets the reaction.
Mataji, how do you know whether it is aprarabdha or prarabdha? Suppose I have robbed the bank. I have
You
done
have
it because how do you know which one it is? Presume I have robbed the bank. So possibility is there he must have done the same thing to me earlier. Maybe I was, managing the bank, and he must have done it with me. So how do I know whether he is at fault or I am at fault, or I am, receiving uh, this thing for the sins that I've committed last time, or has he committed the sin earlier? That's why I'm committing this sin. How do you find out?
okay. So for myself, his reactions will come to him, that is separate. My reactions will come to me, which is separate, right? In my past life, I have done something bad to a person, and in this life, I'm getting a reaction. It could be from the same person who's taken a rebirth and become my brother, sister, or husband or father, and through him, I'm getting a reaction. It could be that, or I could get that reaction from any other person. But because that person in this life is now choosing to bring that reaction to me, he will then face a reaction for that thing later on. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
It's a little confusing because Krishna himself says nobody can get into the intricacies of karma. They're so intricate. Nobody can understand. For example, you went to a doctor, you have high fever. I have high fever. I went to a doctor, and the doctor checks me, says you have malaria. Now I can sit and talk about the malaria, and I can ask him questions like, okay, which mosquito bit me, what time, and which day, and where was I? The doctor will say, this is so intricate, I cannot get into the details, I won't even know, right? Those details in the past, what has happened, they're so intricate. And it is said that when you're drinking water from, simple act of buying a Bisleri water bottle and drinking it, there can be a reaction to that also. Why? Because while making the bottles in the factory, there might be small children underage who are, engaged in that work. So you will get the reaction because they were not supposed to, such small children, and they're made to work in that factory. The reaction will come to whoever is drinking that water, where there is some karma, bad karma happening, weak karma happening. So the best way to come out of it is take shelter of Krishna and surrender everything that we eat or drink or whatever we do to him, and he takes away the sin. So Vedic Karma Kand, where we go and we do certain pujas and rituals and sacrifices, will take away certain things. It might take away the prarabdha or aprarabdha reaction, right? I might be having a health crisis, so I go to this really learned person who knows astrology, and he can tell me, okay, wear this kind of stone or do this puja, and your health will get better. And it works because it is there in the Vedas. It is true. But the only thing is the person should be knowledgeable and not asking for money. He should be, his intention should be taking care and, fixing problems through this Vedic karmakam and not his own fame or money. So that might take care, the Vedic um, solutions might take care of prarabdha and aprarabdha to a certain degree, but only bhakti can take care of everything. The rituals and the pujas will not take care of the simple proclivity that is there as, kutam and bijam within the heart. Only bhakti can, just like in a forest fire, everything is burnt down. So when we are in bhakti, in devotional service, even the seed and even the kutam within the heart to want to do sinful activity is taken care of. Ignorance also goes away. Vishal Prabhu, I see you unmuted. You have a question?
Yes, Mataji, I have a question. So, with what I have understood from this, it's more looks to me that whatever the prarabdha that we are actually having, basis which it seems that our life is like it's predefined. So, if we say if there are two types of people. One, if the life is predefined, there are people who actually gets into one type of people gets into Krishna consciousness, and the other type of person does not get into Krishna consciousness. So how does that person who doesn't get into Krishna consciousness, how that person will get elevated? Am I able to explain that?
How will a person who's not in Krishna consciousness get elevated without doing bhakti, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if he's
I
not
mean,
doing
how
bhakti,
will he understand if everything is predefined? I mean, if the prarabdhas are actually making us do our work in this
but
lifetime.
there's another aspect. Everybody is also creating karma for the future. It's not that we're just getting reactions from the past. We are also creating a future by making choices. Every moment we're making choices, right? So previously, whatever we've done, for a person who's not into Krishna, who's not into bhakti, for that person, whatever he's done in the past, he's getting the reaction now, but he's also making choices how to face that reaction in that circumstance, making more further karma, which will lead to further reactions. But for a devotee who has understood all this and he's taken into Krishna consciousness seriously, sincerely, Krishna says, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayashyami Mashusha. That is one aspect where he's taking care of all our sinful activities from the past and nullifying everything. So that such a devotee will in the future also make choices where he will want not to hurt or not to do sinful activities in the future. But Krishna also says, even if there's a fall down, he's still considered saintly. All those technicalities will come later. But I hope I answered your part of the question. Such a person is also created, it's not just past misdeeds that he's done and getting reactions, he's also creating new ones where he's going to get reactions in the future also. So that is the state for a person who's not into bhakti. But for his elevation, there is Vedas. If he's not into bhakti, then Vedas are there. He at least gets rid of the reactions or to a certain degree.
Okay, I'm just trying to relate one statement which I heard in one of the lectures of one of the devotees. He was mentioning that there are 6 things which are actually fixed in our life. One is
Mhm.
our birth, one is our death, one our happiness and the sorrows, the 4 things, and one is our pride and the humiliation. Is it correct to say that?
Whenever we hear lectures, we should also ask where that information is coming from. Is it from the Shastras or is it something that the person or devotee is bringing through his experience or his thoughts? So I'm not sure where I've never heard this. It might be true. And where it's coming from, I think we should ask him and then get into the details. Because in bhakti,
Because
it
I
is
think it's a
Prabhupada says in bhakti, simple example, when we are clapping in kirtan, the lines on our palm, which denote our future or present and future, they change every time we clap in kirtan. So Krishna can make anything possible. I mean, happiness and distress also is a matter of our mind. What is happiness for one person can be distress for the other person. For me, real happiness is when I'm serving Krishna, right? Other than that, whatever sadness is around me, material terms, it could be health, it could be wealth, it could be relationship, whatever problem, that problem, materially, people are looking who are not devotees. For a devotee, these are not problems. So sorrow and happiness and sorrow, humility, ego, all these things, ego and humility, they can all be purified by bhakti. So we can get into those details, but I think the basic thing is we should, whoever is speaking, we should also, if for a greater clarity, ask where in the Shastra that information is coming. Like here, we spoke about all this, but this is coming from Rupa Goswami, from Nectar of Devotion. That's why we're discussing this. So like that. Yes?
Sure.
Keep going. Bhakti is like a $500 bill where everything else is included, $1, $5, $10, $50, everything is included. That means from the Vedas, whatever technicalities, do this, do this, do this, a devotee doesn't have to get into all of this. Just by doing bhakti, he attains everything. So let's have somebody read this quickly.
Prabhupada, yes, karma yoga means action, fruitive action. Everyone is working in this world to get some results. Somebody is working in business, earning millions of dollars yearly. Why he is earning? He's earning for his sense gratification. As soon as he has got money, he changes his car, he changes his apartment, changes his standard of life only for increasing. The whole world is working so hard, and the result is that increasing their objects of sense gratification. This is called karma. Karma means to enjoy the results of your activity, and when it is karma yoga, that means the activities which is your occupation, you can engage yourself in that activity, but don't engage the result of your sense gratification. But for satisfaction of Krishna, that is called karma yoga.
And the difference between Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga, you can read later. We discuss most of it, and this is from the purport. One with an impure heart should perform prescribed duties for purification of the heart. This is explained in the next 13 verses. Keep going. Na karmanam anarambhan neshkarmyam purushoshnote na cha sannyasad sannyasanadeva siddhim samadhikachati. Not by merely abstraining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So inaction is not the formula for freedom from reaction. Krishna is saying basically, na karmanam anarambhan, not endeavoring to do one's duty. So if one thinks, let me not do my duty because if I act, then I will get a reaction. So let me just not act. Krishna says that is not by merely abstraining from work can one achieve freedom from the action. Or if one person thinks, okay, let me just take sannyas and I will attain perfection. Krishna says, not by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So inaction is not the formula for freedom from reaction, and renunciation will not lead to attaining perfection. Because externals don't lead to internals. So whenever you see these little phrases, they're coming from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I'm listening to his classes, and also 2 or 3 more devotees are seniors where I'm getting all these. So not mine, I'm just listening and repeating them. So beautifully how they have explained, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu especially has explained how externals, Krishna's words, how externals don't lead into internals. Whatever garb, if a person takes the garb of a sannyasi and wears saffron, just by doing that does not mean that there'll be a change internally also. Because inaction can also be culpable action. And here we have example of a cop, also a doctor. So maybe the doctor is sleeping at night and there's a call and there's emergency, this patient is really sick, but the doctor has worked the whole day, so he's not able to get up and he's like, okay, I'll take care of this in the morning. And he keeps down the phone and he says, yes, yes, I'm coming, but goes in the morning and the person has already left his body. So they'll tell the doctor that, it's because of you. And the doctor will say, no, I didn't do anything. It's because he didn't do anything. That's why the patient died. And similarly, there's some, gang, and they're doing some, nasty stuff in the society. And the police is right, this cop is right there, but he doesn't do anything. So he's also held responsible, but for not acting. So that's what Krishna is saying. Just because action leads to bondage does not mean that by not doing any action, you will be free from bondage. And one cannot achieve success just by accepting sannyas ashram. If you want freedom from bondage, you will have to be free from attachments. This is the internal, where there is detachment, then there is freedom from bondage. These are notes which you can read later. And connected to this, there's a beautiful story of Dhanur Das. And he was married to this beautiful girl. Some of you might know the story. I'll just go quickly over this. He's married to a beautiful girl and he's always walking, he's taking an umbrella and walking backwards, so that he's always looking at the beautiful face of his wife. He never for a moment he wants to take his eyes off her beautiful face. So this scene is seen once by a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and they are so surprised that such people also exist. They're so enamored by the beauty of their wife. And Ramanujacharya gets to know this. He said, bring this Dhanur Das in the temple. So they go and call Dhanur Das. Either it was Ramanujacharya or his disciple who did this, that called him in the temple. And they ask this man, why do you do this? It's so surprising and people are laughing and looking at you. You don't care. And he says, no, I don't care what people, say or what they're looking at, because I myself I don't want to, even for a blink of a minute, I don't want to. I take my wife everywhere I go, even if it's a journey outside my city to work, but I take her with me because she's so beautiful. I cannot take my eyes off her. So they say that the disciple of Ramanujacharya, he says that, what if I show you something more beautiful than her? Then will you stop this, what you're doing? And he said, yes, I will for sure. So they tell him to come in the evening when there is Aarti time in the temple. So he comes with his wife also. So both of them are sitting, and because of the mercy of Lord Vishnu, when they're looking at the deity form, Lord Vishnu shows his beauty and he reveals his beauty. And when they're looking, they're just so enamored, both of them. They fall down and they surrender, and they say, from that day, they become disciples of Ramanujacharya. And then later on, Ramanujacharya loves Dhanur Das a lot, because although he's a grihastha and his wife also, they are so detached now. But the sannyasis, they are so jealous. They're like, we've renounced everything and we have taken this, sannyas ashram. Still, we see so much affection from our guru to Dhanur Das and his family, and not to us. So they're jealous. And then Ramanujacharya does another. He says, okay, do this. When Ramanujacharya is sitting with me in the temple and we're discussing, do one thing, go to his house. His wife will be sleeping, it'll be late in the night, and start taking off her jewelry from her body. Do that. And if she wakes up or Ramanujacharya comes, you go hide outside, under the window, and listen to their conversation. So they do that. And he's engaged, Ramanujacharya has engaged Dhanur Das in, discussing, and he doesn't let him go till late at night. So these disciples go to his house and they start taking off the jewelry. She's, she's turned towards one side and sleeping in that way. And they start taking off the jewelry from the other side, which is revealed, the bangles and the earrings. But she wakes up, but she doesn't move. She knows what's happening, and she knows through little opening of her eyes, she sees that these are my god brothers who have come. So she keeps her eyes closed after that. And then after they've taken the jewelry from one side, she slowly turns to the other side so they can take the jewelry from the other side also. But they get scared that she's woken up and they jump and they go out the window and they're sitting there. Now, Ramanujacharya sends Dhanudas back home and he comes and she gets up and she relates the whole thing to to Dhanudas. And she says that, our godbrothers came and I think there's a problem in the ashram. They are in need of money, but they're not asking directly. So they came to take my jewelry when I was sleeping. I turned the other side so they could take the other side jewelry also, but they got scared and they, left. And Dhanudas is so angry and he's so upset. Why? Not because they were taking jewelry off her body, but at his wife, that you must have turned so quickly that they got scared and they ran away. You should have turned really, really slowly so they didn't have a doubt that you're up. And listening to this, they are so surprised that being grahasthas, they are still so detached from material assets. And later in the ashram, the sannyasis are once taking bath, and Ramanujacharya tells one of the disciples, go and change in the river, go and change, switch their clothes. And they come out and they don't know which dhoti is theirs, and they're wearing some other person's dhoti, some other person's chadar, and now they start to fight with each other. No, this is my dhoti. No, this is so. Just for simple clothes, these sannyasis are fighting. And Ramanujacharya then sits with them and he talks about detachment, how internal detachment is so important. With going this story, a person with impure heart renounces prescribed duties and takes Vedic karma sannyas. He reverts to material action as he cannot remain inactive. So Krishna says, Nahi kasyat chanamapi jatu tishtati karma krit karyate hi avasha karma sarva prakriti jair gunaihi. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. So everybody acts at every moment. Nobody can remain inactive. Our mind is also always, even when we're sleeping, the mind is always working, right? It's always active. When you get up in the morning, we might remember certain, vivid dreams that we've had. So, and when we're awake, even for a moment, Krishna says, nobody can remain inactive. If you see the ants around you or insects, they're also always active, doing or going somewhere, getting some food, taking it to their, little holes. Every being where there is a soul, there is action at every minute. Krishna speaks about the gunas here. He says everybody is helplessly working under the modes that they're in. So the three gunas, we know the puppeteer is the prakriti, threads are the three modes, and puppets are us jivas, because of whom we are doing whatever we're doing. So more of goodness, more of passion, more of ignorance. And Krishna speaks about these in a great detail later on in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is why when Krishna went as a Shanti Dut and Duryodhan was not ready to give the kingdom, not even half the kingdom, not even that much where you can stick a pin in. Krishna said, before that, Krishna said, just give 5 villages to the Pandavas. Why? Because as Kshatriyas, it is their nature. They have to rule. So if you give them 5 villages, at least they'll have some district, some place where they can rule as Kshatriyas. So this is the nature. Their nature is being administrators. So give them that, just 5 villages, but he didn't agree. Prabhupada says, as such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness, otherwise it will be engaged in occupations dictated by illusory energy. So either we are engaged in our day-to-day actions for Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, or we are engaged in Maya. These are some notes. But we sometimes see sannyasis who do not engage any of their senses and sometimes even speak philosophy. What about them? Some sannyasis, they are also in the garb of sannyasis and they speak philosophy, but they don't engage their senses. What about them? Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara sapchate. One who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So, mithyachari. There is one who is sadachari, who is virtuous, and then there is one who is a pretender or a mithyachari. So outwardly, a sannyasi can show that he's very renounced, right? But internally, he's thinking of all these sense objects. The sense of renunciation is internal detachment and not just the act of renouncing externally. So mithya means false and achar means behavior. So two things are happening. One is cheating himself, he's also cheating others. Cheating himself, how? Because attachments are not allowing him to practice the real purpose of renunciation, which is undistracted concentration on Krishna. Because he's, instead of concentrating on Krishna, he's thinking of all these material sense objects. And he's cheating others because people offer respect thinking he's renounced, although he is not. For one who still is attached but renounces prematurely, Krishna says, one has distanced himself from sense objects externally, but there is proximity internally. Then one cannot maintain that renunciation for long. And we've done this 2.62, 63, right? Stages of fall down because of attachment, because of thinking of sense objects. There is attachment, then there is lust, then there is anger, right? Ultimately, there's fall down. So what is dwelt in the mind cannot stay in the mind for long. It leads to indulgence, and that leads to fall down, which is pranashyati. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruit of results, who offers everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncer. In contrast to a sannyasi, the householder who performs actions or karma yoga without longing for the fruit of his action is superior. Krishna says, Yastvendriyani manasa niyamya rabhate arjuna karmendriyahe karma yogam asaktaha savishishyate. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins Bhakti Yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. And this is a beautiful story about two monks. You might have heard it before. Two monks who are crossing a river. They're on the riverside and walking along the riverside, but they want to cross it. So they are going to cross it now. But there's another lady who is really old in this picture. I can't make out whether she's old or not, but she's really old and she is very scared of crossing the river. So she is asking for help. Can you please help me cross the river? Now, one of the monks, she says, okay, climb on my shoulder and I'll take you across the river. And he does that. And then they both the monks, they are going on their journey again. After 2 hours, this other monk asks the person who had helped the woman that we are supposed to be renunciates. Why did you touch the woman? This is not right. And that monk said, I picked her up and I dropped her the other side of the river, but you're still carrying her. After 2 hours, she's still on your mind. So this is also an example of how internally detachment is required, which creates no bondage. So manas ekam, vachas ekam, karman ekam, and that is a mahatmana. Mahatma is one whose mind and what he's thinking, what he's speaking, what he's doing are in one line. They're ek. He's not thinking something else and doing something else like that, or speaking something else. Another little small story, just a little, anecdote. The little boy comes to a balloon seller and he says, if I buy the red color balloon, will it fly higher than the rest? Because his favorite is red color. And The balloon seller says it is not the color of the balloon, meaning it is not what is outside, but it is what is inside that will make the balloon fly high. So helium or whatever gas will make the balloon fly high, not the outward or outward appearance. Man looks at the results, whereas Krishna looks at the effort. Man looks at the presentation, whereas Krishna looks at our intention and our heart. So by acting and working with detachment, one grows and progresses in spiritual realization and thus avoids the danger of doing what is impractical, being inactive. But rather, by acting according to one's nature, one grows steadily in one's realization, one's wisdom, and one's spiritual life. The prime Swarthagati or goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal, Prabhupada says in the purport. 3.8 Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma jayo hi akarmanaha sharirayatrapi chate na prasiddhet akarmanaha. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So Krishna has provided everything around us, but still we have to put in our endeavor, right? Krishna says that not even, he says, even to maintain one's body, one has to act. So do your prescribed actions. For a tree, there is water, but it has to reach with its roots to get that water, to maintain itself. The birds, they also have to look around. There is food everywhere, but they have to do their endeavor. Even animals have to do their endeavor to search and eat the food. Similarly, for us also, for a person who's a farmer, he grows the crops, but the seeds, he sows the seeds, but then there is divine provision of rain which comes. So both combined together brings results. So this verse is for those spiritualists who misuse spirituality as a license for material irresponsibility. The most productive way to be lazy is to take sannyas, which is what Krishna is asking you to do. You do your prescribed. So Arjun had asked, Tat kim karmani ghore mam, why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare? Krishna is saying, Niyatam kuru karma tvam, perform your prescribed duty. It is not ghor karma. Lord Krishna did not want Arjuna to become a pretender, but that he perform his prescribed duties as set forth by four Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. So we had another verse, but we'll do it in our next class. What we're going to do now is we'll take up an activity. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the activity is